I'm Sam Taggart with Can't Knock This, host of the first ever Door-to-Door Con, bringing professional collaboration to the direct selling and door-to-door industry. Go register your seat for our event, January 2018 at doortodoorcon.com. What's up, everybody? I'm here with Adam Webb, Vivint's all-star poster child, Mr. Awesome. So Adam, a little bit about him. He 11 years in this industry. 11 years.
Yeah, I started in 2007.
Cranking. And you were at Pinnacle.
Pinnacle 5 years.
And then Vivint.
The rest.
Yeah. Cool. So almost 5,000 accounts this last year, 7 teams. That's phenomenal.
Thank you.
So awesome growth. He has, so anybody watching this, he literally won the National Sales Trainer of the Year award. Was Stevie?
Stevie.
Cool. Mm-hmm. He's been a certified public speaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Certified public speaker, has 3 patents for smart home technology.
Yeah.
Which is awesome, and he's published 2 books.
Yeah.
So I'm super stoked. You are one of the sales gurus. I remember I've watched your trainings on Vivint's thing. I've been to I've seen you speak. Super excited for this podcast.
I'm excited too.
Okay, so let's dive into a little bit about your story. How'd you kind of get into this?
Okay. So I'm originally from San Diego, and I moved up here in the fall of 2006, and I just kept running into people that were like, I went out and sold and made, 20 grand.
Want to see my back end?
Yeah, exactly. So I was pretty dang broke at the time. And I just had this impression that sales experience was going to benefit me. I wanted to master selling. I don't know why. So I just kind of scoped around to find someone that was running a team in San Diego. And I went out and sold. And
so you sold in your hometown the first summer?
Yeah, because my goal was, just sell enough to get free rent and live close to home so my mom can make my lunch.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so that was my goal.
How'd you do your first summer? You're the skater kid. It's so funny because I see a lot of people recruiting the football all-stars, and your niche has always been we're the skater.
I'm just a scrubby skater, dude. Yeah, so my first year I started out pretty slow because I had really low ambitions. But about halfway through the summer, I had a good mentor that kind of sat me down and was like, look, I think you're capable of more. This is what your life could look like if you actually pursued your potential within this job. And so my second half of the summer was awesome, and I finished with 142 my first year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And now you've averaged over the 11 years 290 accounts every year.
Yeah.
Your best summer was almost 350, 340 something.
342, yeah.
That's anybody listening to this that doesn't know Alarm World, that is all-star material. That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell me what's been the craziest highlight, I guess you could say, of the 11 years. What's been your biggest this was when I just felt so much energy, super excited.
Yeah, honestly, I just love people. I'm a human lover. So the opportunity to surround myself with young, ambitious, hungry, driven people has kind of been the joy of my career. A couple years ago, we were competing in one of Vivint's big competitions. It's called the Cup. Mm-hmm. And as a team, we came together so strong, and we're just so fired up. I mean, you've experienced it where you're in this mode that you're not even thinking about the money. You're just doing it for all the other reasons, the intrinsic value. But we were working in California, and a couple years ago, there were these gnarly fires that engulfed the 15. We drove up to the high desert from down the hill. And the 15 was closed. You could not get back home. Guys were going 4 hours through the mountains to get back. And I was afraid if I went down, I wouldn't be able to get back up to be able to sell and compete. So one of our guys had a pretty chill customer. And long story short, I wound up sleeping at that customer's house. They were down to let me crash there. So it was really funny because, I ran to Walmart. I got some jammies and a toothbrush. And the tech's there installing late. It's 11 p.m. And I come out of the bathroom, wet hair in my pajamas. And he's like, Adam, what are you doing? I was like, I'm going to bed. Did you need something? You know, and he's there installing. It was the funniest situation ever.
That is awesome. The tech.
Yeah, the tech's like, why is the sales manager in his pajamas in the customer's house? Like,
commitment to competition. Commitment to
whatever it takes, baby.
I love
whatever it takes.
So we're going to dive into 2 different books you've written.
Yeah.
We're going to kind of go into, he has the 6-Figure Summer, and then rewriting this one a little bit, but it'll be the 7-Figure Summer.
7-Figure Summer, yeah.
Which all has to do with recruiting and tactics and styles to do
Yeah.
that. So yeah, in this podcast, the main thing I want to highlight is just a little bit about the principles and where these kind of came from. And what's really cool is I'm excited to see these at Door-to-Door-Con. Because literally, like, he's made these specific, you know, you wrote this one back at Pinnacle, then made it more so Vivint specific, but now he's going to open it up to industry specific, which would be really cool. Because I've actually read the six figure Summer, and it's crazy, but it's like such simple things, but it's so powerful, like what you put in here. So super excited to have these available at Door-to-Door-Con. This will be fun.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about kind of how this one came about, the 6-Figure Summer.
Yeah, it's actually a cool story. So there was a rep, and the story kind of embodies one of the principles in the book, which is to give value. But this rep wasn't part of my downline. My second year, I sold 340. And so you've experienced this where you just get random people that kind of want to pick your brain and learn from you, which this rep
how do you do it?
How do you do it?
How do you sell 3 in a day? How do you sell 5 in a day?
So yeah, he was like, I want to sell over 200 accounts. How do I do it? Yeah. So I'm like, well, let me hear your pitch. I would say it more like this. I would add this to your presentation. He went out for the summer, increased. He got to like 150, came back, was like, I did everything you said. I couldn't quite break 200. So we went at it again. More training, more pitches. Went at it again. Got to like 175. Great numbers. But he's like, I just want to duplicate what you and other 200 plus account reps do. So I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. So I sat down and really thought through, like, what is it that makes 200 plus or 6-figure reps? And I realized it's not about the pitches. It's about the principles.
Yeah.
It's not, when it comes to high volume producers and the top 1%ers, it's really not about what they say. It's about who they are.
Yeah, it's who are you being?
Yes. What are the attributes you embody? I mean, if you were to write down your pitch and I were to write down my pitch, you would read them and it's like I say this, or like there's nothing special about this.
It's crazy. I just did a training for a company out in Missouri, and I was like, I could give you 50 different pitches, and they will all work, and they will be completely different. Yeah. Ready? Want me to just spitfire them?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. I'm like, but that's not the point.
Exactly.
And they're like, oh. And I'm like, guys, but that's the point. Is it's not the 50. It's the who am I showing up as I do those 50.
Yep. It's all about the principles. So basically, what the 6-figure is, it's the principles of high performance. Who are high performers? What are the attributes they embody? And what do you need to duplicate those principles so that you can duplicate their success?
Cool. So tell me a little bit about a few of the principles. Like,
Sure.
What are some of the ones that highlight that you're like, man, these first off, do you know what are all the principles you talk about in the book?
Work ethic, consistency, intelligence, integrity, giving value. Those are the principles.
Okay, so let's highlight a few of the ones that like really stand out to you and kind of go into those.
So the first principle is paramount. It doesn't matter how much sales mastery you have. If you don't embody this principle, it won't matter. And that's work ethic. And a lot of reps, when they seek mentorship or training, they're looking for some magic bullet. Like, what do I need to say that's going to get me in every door?
What's that magic one-liner?
What's the one-liner that's going to get everybody that's totally not interested to just sign up?
Yeah.
And they're often disappointed to hear what the real answer is. It's just straight grind and hustle. Straight grind and hustle. I've been studying and learning about endurance athletes. Mm-hmm. So in Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, he talks about Dave Scott. He won 6 consecutive Ironman. Here locally in Utah, we have James Lawrence, the Iron Cowboy.
He's speaking at Door-to-Door-Con.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, that alone is reason to go to Door-to-Door-Con.
Yeah, it's
that
like
guy
insane.
Is awesome.
It's insane.
He's awesome. 50 Ironman, 50 states, 50 days. So as I'm studying these endurance athletes, they've set world records in all these different categories. But it's interesting because I've realized for them, it's not about running. It's not about cycling. It's not about swimming. It's not about any of those things. What it's about is pushing the limits of their human potential. They're explorers, and the running and the swimming and the cycling, that's just the means that they use to figure out what their limits are and to break them. So an analogy that I would draw, you, me, some of these top performers in door-to-door, we're endurance athletes as well. We've just found a different means to explore the limits of our human potential. And I think about a gym. You know, if you go into a gym, you would never walk out and say, well, I'm never doing that again. That hurt.
Well, I did that.
You might do that.
Yes, that's me.
I do that too, to be honest.
CrossFit? Oh,
yeah, I'm never doing that again.
Don't make me do that, please.
You would never say like, man, I wasn't expecting it to hurt, because you go into it knowing that in order to get stronger and bigger, there's a minimum level of pain and suffering. You literally have to rip the fiber of your muscle to get stronger. And I think a lot of our reps that are knocking right now, they don't know what door-to-door is. They think it's a job, but what it really is a gym. It's resistance for our character and our work ethic. I get asked a ton, I'm sure you have too, how do you sell so consistently? When I'm in a motivated mood, I sell a lot, and when I'm not, I don't. And the reality is, high performers, they perform consistently, not because they don't get demotivated or down. They do, they're human, but they carefully watch for those opportunities when the job is hardest, and they know that those are the biggest opportunities for personal development and growth.
So it's interesting, I was talking to James, and I was asking the Iron Cowboy, and I was kind of like asking him a little bit about like, oh, tell me a bit about you or whatever. I'm going to do a podcast with him here shortly, and he fell asleep on one of his Ironmans, riding the bike.
Yeah.
I'm like, so it kind of goes to say, it's like he still was doing it, even though he probably wasn't feeling it, because he had just come from Hawaii and he only was on like a couple hours of sleep, and he literally falls asleep while racing an Ironman.
Yeah,
and it's like
crazy.
But it's just that it shows, it's like he's willing to kind of go that mile. I mean, and that's how we need to be, almost in the sense of door to door. It's like, you could be tired, you could be not feeling it. But it's like grinders grind.
You come back from the most exhausting day ever, and you would literally rather die than pick up your training manual. But you force yourself to do it anyway. Hard work is my best friend, Sam. Everything in my life that I hold dear came to me through hard work. So that's the first principle in a 6-figure summer.
Can I ask you, this is an interesting question. So how do you learn hard work? Because some people just weren't taught hard work. I mean, and you probably manage reps that it's just like, you think you're working hard?
It's subjective.
You're just like, no.
Yeah.
So how does one develop a work ethic?
Well, you're 100% correct. One man's hard work is another man's lazy. You basically just need to systematically take today's limits and turn them into tomorrow's standards. Take something that right now is just so difficult and hard for you and make it something that's normal. And you honestly just do it by doing it, right? So it's like, for most new reps, working a 9 to 9 on a Saturday is brutalizing. But do this. Go work go pick 3 days randomly out of the week and go work 9 to 9s. You just make yourself do it. And eventually you get to a point where it's like, my last week of this summer.
This is impressive.
Yeah, it was during extension. So we had a few guys out there. Guys were like, hey, Adam, are we holding correlation? I was like, just hold correlation in your heart. I'm going and selling. This is my week. I'm going out. Just worked 9 to 9s all week, sold 21. And I was like, it felt good, to be able to just go freaking work. But to answer your question, any guy can become a top 1% in work ethic just by figuring out their limits and intentionally pushing through them.
Yeah, I think it's like, take away sales, take away talent, charisma, whatever. Like, I would take a guy that's willing to work hard over talent all day.
It's the great equalizer.
Yes. It's like, as long as you're hustling, I got mad respect for you.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you bageled for a week. Great. At least I know you're going to make it. You're going to make it.
Yep.
So kind of, what other principles in the book are you like, man, this is important?
Another one that's huge for me, it's a principle that I govern my life by, is give value. So I firmly believe, Zig Ziglar says, if you can help enough people get what they want, you can have anything that you want. And so I just firmly believe if you ever have an opportunity to give value, just give it. I see too many guys, they have that opportunity and they hold their value back because they can't figure out how or when they're going to be compensated for giving the value.
Yeah, they worry about too much what's in it for me versus really like think of any great leader that's made any impact, that's made any difference, that has any influence, and they've been a huge value add.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they get put on a pedestal and it's like, wow, that guy, like, wow. And I think too many people care so much about the quick, like, what do I need? But it's playing the long game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I look at what you're doing with your company and door-to-door con. With your sales ability, I'm 100% certain that with the energy and time and everything you invest into creating this content and putting out this material, if you were to take that time and energy and just go sell, you could 10x the money. But
100%.
Easy.
Yes.
Easy.
100%.
Easy.
Thought that many times.
Yes.
Like, but that's not adding the greatest value.
Exactly. But what you're doing with door-to-door con and all of this stuff is just sending as much value as you possibly can out to these reps and out into the universe. And I look over my career and it's crazy, Sam, the way that I've provided value to people where there was just no way I could even conceptualize that I would ever get a return and benefit from that. And just through some crazy turn of events, I found myself in a position where I needed value from them. And it might not be for years later, and you can never connect the dots, but my plea to anyone that's listening is if you have any opportunity to create and provide value for other people, whether it's training or whatever, just do it. Just give of your value. It'll always come back to you.
So what else? To wrap up kind of the 6-figure summer, because we're talking reps for now.
Yeah.
What other principle are you kind of like, this is what makes a 6-figure rep? So you have work ethic. You talked about consistency, give value. Mm-hmm. What else?
If I had to pick another one, I would say consistency. Mm-hmm. And I would say I'll leave a little carrot on that one. Get the book and read it, because I think the listeners will find it super interesting on how you can actually be consistent in your salesmanship, because that's the key.
Yeah, so many people are like, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
everyone has had a great day. Everyone's had a great week.
Yeah.
But how do you do that consistently?
So there's a rep, literally, I forget his name, but last night I got an email through the Can't Knock This website, and he's like, I can throw in a 6 and 7 spot, and then I'll bagel for a week. And I'm like, so he literally asked this question. So if he's listening, this is for him. So what's your nugget on this?
Get the book.
Get the book. Okay, cool. Book. Just be consistent.
Come to door-to-door con.
Yes.
That's where we're first going to release the newest version of it. Come to door-to-door con. It's going to be available there, and you can find out.
Cool. No, that'll be exciting. So I'm like, wait, where's the carrot's dangling for me? Freaking in. Okay, so let's dive into 7-figure rep. Like, this is more recruiting and how to build big teams, and you've worked and done it with the best. So I mean, it's impressive to see what you've done over your career. You have kind of a cool technique. Before we kind of dive into the book, I kind of want to talk on what you've been doing here in Utah, because everybody in Utah is always like, oh, I can't recruit because there's so many competition, blah, blah. But you've kind of taken a different approach. And how's that been beneficial for you?
Yeah, I would say you need to differentiate. If you're in a highly saturated recruiting market, you need to figure out what your unique value proposition is. And it's funny you mentioned the stereotypical recruiting persona of working out and sports.
You got big muscles, you'll sell 200.
Exactly. I actually had serious insecurities about recruiting and growing teams because I'm so different from what I saw was successful. These big dudes that worked out and this and that. And I'm like, dude, I skate. That's what I do. And I got dad bod. So I eventually embraced it, and I found that it resonated with people. There's a lot of guys that have thought about selling that wanted to get into it. They were actually turned off by the stereotypical recruiting persona that totally resonated with me. They're like, this guy kills it in door-to-door, and he's super chill and skates and surfs. I vibe with this person. So if anyone's in a saturated recruiting market, or even if you're not, just figure out what your unique value proposition is. And if you don't have one, go build your human capital and figure out what your brand is. Because if you can differentiate, you can recruit.
Love that.
Yeah.
Let's kind of dive into the book.
Yeah.
So what are some of the key principles? And then, or first off, like how did this book come about? Like, where did you get this, like, ding, I'm going to write this little book and it's going to be dope. Like, kind of tell us, like, how this kind of formulated.
So for me, like, anytime I have a great accomplishment or anytime I level up or experience something new or awesome, going back to the principle in the six-figure summer, my first instinct is, I want to share this. Like, I want as many people as possible to experience what I've experienced, because I know there's so many door-to-door reps out there that have grown personally in their salesmanship, but eventually you peak. Like, when it comes to personal selling, there's only so many hours in a day. Yeah. Whatever your potential is, you're going to hit it. And then this job becomes stagnant and disappointing. So I, after 7 years, was finally able to make the leap. You know, I made great money off my personal sales. In the fall of 2015, I had 0 recruits. It was just me. I was a rep. Recruited a team, went and did 1,200. The year after, last year, grew and did 2,500 accounts, 2 teams. This last year did 4,600. Next year I'll do 8,000.
Crazy growth.
Yeah. So that's what spurred. It's like I want to. The same thing with the six-figure summer. I want to help other people make this same leap. If I can do it, anyone can do it. People just need to be shown the way. So that's why I wrote it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a compilation of interviews, right?
Yeah.
And so you interviewed the 7, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do we call them? Like the apostles?
Yeah.
Whatever. But like the VPs, and you're like, what are your practices? Like, what do you do well, and what have you found over the years? And I'm sure you took not just their concepts, but your concepts and Puck's concepts and all these other guys' concepts, and kind of what are the main principles that you came up with?
Yeah, so I just basically interviewed all of them, transcribed everything they said, and looked at all of their collective knowledge on recruiting to find similarities. Like, whoa, all of these guys do it the exact same way. This is probably a correct principle of recruiting that should be applied. The first thing that I would say, maybe the first question I would answer is, why recruit?
Yeah. And
it's a valid question because a lot of our door knockers are making awesome money off their personal sales.
And that's the battle everybody runs into. It's like, well, I make $30 on this guy when I could go and get him to sell. I have to get him to sell like 50 in order for that to count for 5 of my sales. What takes more energy? You know?
That's right.
And I battled that.
Oh, yeah.
I battled that.
Too.
100%.
It's like the time I just spent making X dollars off of this recruit, if I just spent that time selling, I would have made Y dollars, which is 3 times. But here's the thing, in our industry, for anyone that's looking to do this long term, and side tangent, another mistake I made in this industry as I look back was short-sightedness. I always told myself that I was just doing it 1 or 2 more years.
You and 99% of everybody.
I'm just doing this 1 or 2 more years, then I'm going to go get a real job, right? What is a real job, though? Great money, you love it. The reality is, door-to-door is an incredible career.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend, even guys that have a set track to go to medical school or whatever, if you will do this job with a long-term mentality as if it is a career, no bad will come of that, and only good. So anyway, back to what I was saying, why recruit? It's a good question. Why not just sell? Here's why. This is what I've learned. There's a lot of guys that think, man, if I could just make $200,000 a year selling, I'd be set for life. I could make that every year and I would be happy forever. It's not true. The reality is, if you go back-to-back years and you just do the exact same thing, you make the same money, sell the same accounts, you don't have any personal growth, your earnings doesn't grow, it's not fun.
Yeah, you get bored.
It's stagnant. It's bored. It's disappointing. I've seen guys make $300,000. That's a lot of money year after year, and they're like, this just feels crappy.
And they wig out. It's almost like those guys are like, I need a different job. Like, I'm failing. It's like, you just made $300,000.
Yeah.
Like, go tell like your other friend that's not doing this.
And here's the inevitable end. I've seen it over the last 11 years. They now they got to make more money doing the same work, so they start squeezing their upline to get paid more for the same work. Eventually, they wind up looking at other options. They go to a different company and leave the relationships that they built.
Yeah.
And then it's just, you're perpetually doomed to just be knocking doors forever. So in our industry, it's recruit or die. You have to progress. You have to grow. So that's, to answer the question, why recruit? Yes, there is an opportunity cost. When you first start out doing it, you could probably make more money selling. But as I look back on my 11 years, I'm like, man, I wish I would have started recruiting so much sooner.
How fast you were able to do that in 3? Imagine rewind like 6, 7. Like, what would have been your growth? What would have been your income? And I never like to live in regret or anything like that, but it makes you think like, well, anybody listening to this that is in year 2 or year 1 or year 3, it's like, don't do what I did. You know what I mean? Like, I'm assuming you're probably thinking that, right?
Yeah. Go take the risk. Go develop, go build teams. It's worth it. It's a ton of hard work, but it's so worth it.
So the next question is, so we just talked about why recruit, but now how do we recruit?
It's really funny. So as I was interviewing everyone, asking that question, the response was always the same. Well, it's kind of like selling. The cool part about recruiting is if you know how to sell, you can recruit. It's the same sales cycle.
Yeah.
Prospect, qualify, present, overcome objections, close. So if you can do one, you can do the other.
Yeah.
It's just a different product. You're selling a work opportunity instead of an alarm or solar or pest or whatever it is. If I could just kind of break out one practice from the entire recruiting sales cycle, I would say it would be seek first to understand before seeking to be understood.
Huge.
Yeah. So if you're looking, if I could break down the recruiting presentation into a 5-step process, it would be step 1, get to know the recruit. Step 2, get to know the recruit. Get to know the recruit, get to know the recruit. Step 5, connect their needs, their goals, their ambitions to your opportunity.
Love that.
Ask questions. Just spend the first 50 minutes getting to know them and understanding what they're trying to accomplish, and then spend 10 minutes connecting them.
Because what's the common mistake there?
Recruiters show up and they just talk. Here's why I'm awesome. Here's why the company's awesome. Here's why we're the best. Blah, 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 blah. And you're just shooting from the hip, hoping that something you talk about resonates with what they're actually trying to accomplish in their life.
So what are a few powerful questions you would do to kind of seek to understand? So what are some good questions that you've come up with over the years, to ask a potential recruit?
What's your 5-year plan? How much money are you hoping to make this year? How much would you like to be making in 5 years? What are you trying to accomplish with your life? Are you trying to have a family? Are you trying to get advanced degrees? Are you wanting to, is there a specific career you're wanting to go into? What skills would you hope to develop from this opportunity? What do you need to be able to put on your resume when you apply to grad school or when you apply for that big company? Just the perfect recruiting presentation, really the perfect sale for me, is me just sitting there asking question after question after question, deepening my understanding of who they are and what they want to accomplish with their life so that I can make sure that I can provide them value.
Has there ever been times, and this is important for people to know, but I'm sure there's been times where at the end of the 50 minutes you go, probably not the best fit.
Oh yeah. I'll be the first one to walk away from a sale or a recruiting situation where it's not a win-win. That's another one of Covey's principle. It's a win-win or no deal. I don't care if this benefits me. If it doesn't benefit you, I don't want to do this.
Yeah. And it's also just one, believing, because a lot of times in recruiting, how many times have you had reps say, I don't want to recruit because the last 2 recruits that I brought out failed and then they went home and they didn't make any money and it made me look bad. I'm sure you've dealt with that. So how do you kind of overcome that as a recruiter? And then also how do you, let's jam on that for a second.
Yeah. So here's why door-to-door selling works. Because we have a program, we have a system, we have a schedule, and we work it consistently. Whether it's we meet every day at noon, get pumped up, grab lunch, knock till dark. It's consistent, and you work that system so it gives you results. When it comes to recruiting, most people's system is over the course of 8 months, probably a couple people will randomly cross my plate, and I'll recruit them.
Yeah.
It's just not enough recruiting action. The other thing that I found in interviewing people, I ask, what's the biggest mistake people make with recruiting? What's the biggest false paradigm that people have. And the most successful recruiters in our industry all said the same thing. Most people underestimate the amount of work it takes to be successful at recruiting. Everyone understands how much work it takes to be successful selling door to door, but for some reason they don't translate that.
Yeah.
So you need massive action with recruiting, massive prospecting. Go cold contact recruit. Everyone avoids that.
And so, like, yeah, your summer's so systematically set up. It's
Yeah.
meeting here, meeting there. We drop off, we go out. So what are some of the systems that you've placed over the last couple of years that have really slingshot your growth?
You can't keep yourself busy enough recruiting through warm contact recruiting. Warm contact recruiting is the best. I mean, the relationships there, it's like a referral in sales. Yeah. We would do anything for referrals, but you still got to go cold contact and knock doors because you can't build a sales career off warm referrals.
Yeah, 100%.
So if you're listening to this podcast, go take your business cards, go to the nearest college or university, and just go post up in an area where students are walking by, or go to the mall and just go walk up to someone and hand them your card. Say, hey, my name's Adam. Have you heard of whatever your company is? And just start talking to them. It's literally the same as knocking doors. You just need to go talk to 1,000 people.
But that's scary. I mean, why would I do that? That, like, what if they say no? You know what I mean? Like, that's what's going through my mind. Like, somebody that's watching.
That's scary, right?
Yeah.
So here's the other thing. Every single one of us that has a career right now in door-to-door and has experienced any success, at one point we were rookies, and the thought of knocking on people's doors made us sick to our stomach.
Yeah.
We were so nervous. It was so far out of our comfort zone, but we took a risk. We made ourselves vulnerable, and we went and attacked something that we thought was maybe out of our grasp. Now, for those of us knocking doors, it's like second nature. You know, we'll knock doors. We don't get nervous or anything. We need to be willing to go expose ourselves to some risk and discomfort. Allow yourself to be a rookie again. Go allow yourself to look stupid and feel dumb and all of that, because there's no gain without pain. Like, how are you going to take it to the next level without there being some suffering and some sacrifice?
Yeah.
It's the law.
And I think just getting out of your comfort zone helps you kind of just become more comfortable with the uncomfortable, I guess.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I went to college just simply because I wanted to recruit in college. Like, it was like I'd go to class and be like, who looks good? Let's go for them.
Yeah.
And it was uncomfortable for me to, like, I want to make sure I strategically sit next to that guy and then be like, what's up, man? What do you do?
Yeah.
Cool. And then I just now become like, hey, what's up? And I just simply, like, start conversations.
Yeah.
And just, it's uncomfortable, but I think the more, if you think of it as like a door approach, it's like, okay, what are the common objections? Oh, you're with summer sales, or oh, you're with door to door. Oh, I'm doing this. So you're like, oh, I know you probably heard of this whole door to door thing, and you probably told everybody, like, that's not for you. You're not a salesman. I'm sure you've said that. Like, you 8 Mile them right at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
and then they're like, yeah, you're right. And you're like, oh, but basically what we do, our program, you got to hear about it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, what do you mean? You're like, we're doing something totally different.
Yeah.
It's like the same approach.
It is.
And you're like, hey, we're doing this thing. We're actually going skating, or we're doing whatever, and invite them.
Yeah.
And I think, like, just a simple, take your normal door approach, whatever you're comfortable, at least it takes away a little bit of the nerves.
Yeah.
And then apply it to, like, recruiting.
Yeah. And people need to hear about this opportunity, Sam. This country is full of people that, you know, school, the traditional path of going to school and getting a job, it's not a fit for them. Like, especially with this like the younger generation.
Oh, our generation right now.
They're entrepreneurialistic. They're hustlers. Like, that was me, dude. I was like, I knew I could work hard. I knew I was willing to sacrifice and step out of my comfort zone. I just need an opportunity. And I think everyone that's in door to door right now that's experienced the goodness of it, we just need to go evangelize it, because there's millions of people that need to know about this.
It's so true, because, like, we all strive to have freedom, flexibility, financial abundance, and it's like, where else are you going to do this? And so many people are like, like, it's just frowned upon, or I don't want to tell my dad I knock doors. At what point in your career did you finally own I'm a door knocker. Because you talked about, one more summer.
Yeah.
And now, like, where did the shift happen from I'm Adam Webb, one day gonna be bad A whatever, to I'm Adam Webb, I'm a bad A door knocker, and I see myself as a bad A, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, tell me about that acceptance.
Well, one advantage, I didn't come from much. My parents divorced when I was 6, and I lived with my mom in this small, crappy apartment. She worked the night shift, and growing up, no one really had any expectations for me, and I didn't really have much expectations for myself. So it was actually, it wound up being a benefit because for me, like, I didn't really have like any pride or like, knocking doors is beneath me.
Fill his shoes or...
Yeah. So for me, like, I was just able to go attack a good opportunity. But I've watched in my career, for anyone that maybe does have that perception where it's like, I can't, like, being a door knocker, like I should be like a lawyer or go to medical school or something so that like people will actually not
perceive.
I've watched this industry go from like fly by night summer sales to like a lot of these door-to-door companies. They're just legit companies, multi-billion-dollar companies, publicly traded companies. It's like, this is such a solid career. Anybody that is looking for an amazing opportunity to make great money and develop personally, they should be so proud to be in this industry because it really is amazing. And
changing your paradigm to that, it affects your recruiting ability.
Oh yeah,
because if you're still viewing your job as, I'm only doing this for 1 year, or I don't even necessarily believe that door knocking is legit.
Yeah,
it's hard for you to go share and evangelize it, as you termed it, with others. Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of where my career shot up, because my first couple of years I didn't have a single recruit. And I was like, I do this summer sales thing, but whatever. And I tell my friends, they're like, oh, that's weird. And then I finally owned it, and I'm like, everybody needs this, and it slingshotted my recruiting path. So,
and I'm hoping at Door to Door Con that there will be a lot of people that have like thought about door to door, they've kind of been exposed to it, that attend that and see how legitimate it actually is. And I'm hoping that for a lot of people, Door to Door Con is the moment where they're like, I'm doing it.
And that's like a big encompassing like outcome that I really want to have from it. And as I'm crafting the content with the different speakers and whatnot, it's a big outcome is like legitimizing. Is that word? Legitimizing?
I like the word you made up more.
Legitimizing the door-to-door industry. It's up-leveling the standard and excellence. It's helping people understand, like, this is a real thing. It's a real job. There's other people out there that have 5 kids now that knock on doors still. Like, you know what I mean? And it's not just some college fly-by-the-night temporary thing to get you to your next level. It's like, it's crazy because I'm sure in the hundreds of thousands of dollars you've made in the meantime, we're sitting in an over 7,000 square foot abundant home that's bad and, over on an acre lot in Provo. And I'm sure you've also done some really cool things from an investing standpoint, from a financial standpoint, that it's like on the side. And you've been able to do that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Well, this has been the crazy vehicle to accomplish that. So that's awesome. Is there any, to kind of wrap up, what's some last minute main advice if you were to give somebody, let's call it an up and coming leader in this industry, what would be, what would you give them? What would you tell them?
I view everything on like a bell curve. So if you're familiar with that statistical anomaly, basically if you take any population of people, any group, you're going to have, like, let's say test scores. You're going to have a few people that perform really poorly, a ton of people that perform average, and a few people that perform, in the top.
Yeah.
So anything you do, I view it in that context. If I'm mastering salesmanship, I want to be in the top 1% of knowledge on sales practices. If I'm recruiting, I want to be a top 1% recruiter. If I'm selling, I want to be a top 1% salesman. So no matter what I'm undertaking, I look at it from that paradigm and just ask what's necessary to be in the top 1%. And ultimately, what it comes down to, I want to maximize my human potential. I want to, whatever my potential is, I want to be the best version of myself. When I die, I want to look back and just realize that there was nothing more I could have done to become a better me. And I think if reps and leaders are committed to being the best version of themselves, they'll become like a magnet. Ultimately, recruiting is basically just, I want to be that guy. I would love, in a heartbeat, I would swap lives with that guy.
Yeah.
And so if you can develop yourself personally and build your human capital to the point that you can attract people and be in a position to actually mentor other people and improve the quality of their life, that's what I love about this job. I love the people. I love developing other people and providing people value.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I've appreciated your time, man.
Yeah,
thank you. This has been awesome. And if you're watching this or listening to this, add Adam on Facebook. I mean, he's phenomenal. Make sure you get his book at DoorDoorCon. And yeah, share this with friends or people that need help with becoming a 6-figure rep, a 7-figure rep, and tag your friends if they need that. So I appreciate the nuggets and your openness to, share this with the world, because some people are just very like, no, I don't want to share any of my nuggets with anybody.
Absolutely.
And, so I really do appreciate your time and nuggets.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even, is that even a word?
Nugs.
Nuggets? The nugs?
Nugs. Share those
Hashtag
nugs,
nug. Hashtag nug. Tag people. Hashtag nug.
Yeah. I'm happy to help however I can. If anyone wants to hit me up, my number's 801-821-3189. Shoot me a text. Give me a call. I love to provide value however I can. Come to Door Con. I'll be there. We'll have the books. It's going to be an amazing event. I'm super excited for it. Thank you for all you listening.